Hello and welcome back to Purus Tech Java tutorials. In this session, we are going to cover the Java nested class. So what is a nested class? Let's just remind in the loops, what is nested loops? Nested loop is something like your loop inside a loop is called the nested loop. In the similar way, the class inside a class is called the nested class. So here in this example, see here, this is the outer class, and this outer class consists of two nested class. One is the static nested class and one more is the non-static nested class. So here the nested class can be a static also and can be a non-static. So here the non-static nested class is also called as the inner class. Now let's come to the reason, like why do we need the nested classes? So there are three reasons. There are three good reasons to use the nested class. First thing is, let's say this particular class, the nested class, is only used one place. Let's say a class which is used at only one place and it is not used any other places. Then this is a good reason to have a nested class. This is what is the first point is. It is the way to logically grouping the classes that are used in one place. So basically the helper classes or utility classes goes in the nested class. Now let's come to the second reason. It increases the encapsulation. So how it increases the encapsulation? Let's say this outer class is having some private variables. So here there are some private variables and these private variables can be used only within the class. So that means these nested class can access these private variables. Even this particular classes can be hidden from outside world. So this increases the encapsulation. The third is it can lead to more readable and maintainable code. Why it is readable and maintainable? Because the related classes we are keeping at one place. So it is easily maintainable. Okay, now let's go to the IntelliJ IDEA. Here I have defined one nested class example, which is an outer class. And it has one static nested class and one more is the non-static nested class, which is called the inner class. And here let's delete, this is not used. And for this particular example, I have created one more class, that is use nested class. So this use nested class is using our nested class example to do something. So let's go and see what this nested class has. As you remember that the class can be of default package level access. That means here I have not defined any access modifier. That means it will go as the package default access. And if I just say public, that means anywhere it can be accessed. But it is not true for the inner classes. The inner classes, whether it is static nested class or whether it is a non-static nested class, these classes can be private also, even protected also. So all the access modifier which is valid for the variables, right? This kind of variables, they are valid for the inner classes also. So this one is having some problems, it is saying, because I have used in some other class. So let's just revert it back. Let's come to a few of the points of the static nested class. So static nested class can directly refer to the outer class static variables. This is one of the point which is here. Let's say the private static, there is one static variable here inside the outer class, and we can directly access this variable here inside the static nested class. But let's say this is not a static value. this is not a static value. So it cannot access directly these variables until and unless you create an instance of the nested class. So this is the second point here. If you just uncomment this one, it will give the compilation error. This outer class int variable, if you see here, outer class int variable is a non-static variable. You cannot access directly inside a static nested class. So you have to access like this. You need to create an object of the outer class and then you access the variable. Now let's come to the non-static nested class, which is also called as the inner class. So let's just rename it to a non-static nested class. Okay, so it has become the non-static nested class, and this non-static nested class is also called as the inner class. Okay, let's see here. These are the instance variable. Likewise, this is a instance class, instance level class. That means without creating the instance of the outer class, we cannot access this non-static nested class. So I will explain this one a little bit later. Now let's come to a few points which are given down. Inner class can access the private fields of outer class. So here outer class int variable is a instance variable which is declared as private. So this inner classes can access the private variables. You can access also the static variable too. So here I can mention like this: outer class static variable is, and then outer class static int variable. I can access like this also. So this inner classes can also have the variables, but it cannot have the static variables. If you declare like this private static and static variable, let's say int equal to 9, let's say. So you cannot declare a static variable inside a non-static nested class, since this is associated to an instance of the outer class. Like this fields, these fields are associated only to the instance of this nested class, that is the outer class. This non-static class also belongs to the instance of this one, not to the class level. That is why we cannot define the static variables. Let's delete this. So here I have defined a double variable inside this non-static nested class, and you can print like this: double variable is double variable. So this double variable is pointing to this non-static nested class instance variable. Even if you see here, there is a double variable in the outer class. How to access this outer class double variable? You have to use this keyword. So nested class example dot this dot double variable. That means, so the object which is created for the nested class example, on that particular object, that is what, for this class, whichever object has created, on that you just access the double variable. Now there is one more concept of shadowing of variables which is explained in this particular method. This method takes double variable. So I wanted to print this past double variable, whatever it's passed. So past variable is, you can directly mention this double variable, and also there is an instance variable of the inner class. This one you can access through this dot double variable. This particular variable is shadowing all the variables, whether it is non-static nested class instance variable or if it is a outer class instance variable. This variable is shadowing because the name is same. It is shadowing the two variables. So when you write this, it will print the past variable. So how to access all those one because of shadowing? You can access by using this. This simply will print the non-static nested class instance variable. If you want to access the outer class instance variable, you can use nested class example, which is the outer class dot this dot double variable. Now let's go here and see how to create the object of inside nested classes. As we have seen, this print variable of static nested class. So this is a static nested class and this is a static method. So we don't need to create any object of static nested class. We can directly call like this. First is nested class example, that is the outer class dot static nested class, which is a static nested class dot print variable. We did not created any object of this. So let's say if you want to create an object of static nested class, you can also do that one by in this way. So this is the declaration. First is outer class, second is static nested class and the reference variable. And then you do a new operator. What we are trying to create an object? We are trying to create an object of the static nested class. So the outer class dot static nested class we are referring. Now you can use this reference variable and call this print variable method. So since the static method can be called through an object or through a class. So this is what the explanation. Now let's see how to instantiate an inner class, that is a non-static nested class. So first you have to create an instance of the outer class, and through that particular instance you can create the object of the non-static nested class, and then you use this reference variable to call any method. Now let's try to run this method and see what is the output. Okay, so here I called first the print variable method. So it is printing. Now I am inside the static nested class, which is the first statement of this one. So this is the outer class static integer variable, which is directly accessed inside this method. Then outer class instance variable also we can access through an instance of the outer class. So I have created an instance of the outer class here and then printed the outer class int variable. So what is the outer class int variable? Is 2. So here it is printing 2. Now let's go back and see what I have called here. Now again I called through the object of the static nested class. So the same way I'm using here, using the static nested class instance, and then it is printing the same thing using the instance. Now let's come here and see what I have called. I have called the inner object and print variable. So let's go here and see. Now I'm inside a inner class method. So this is printing, then outer class variable I have accessed, and then outer class static variable, and so on. Even you can use this here, just inner object dot print variable levels. So this is just illustration of shadowing of variables. You can just change this code and check this out. These two examples are there in my GitHub area. You can just download and try it. Hope this is clear. Thanks for watching this video and stay tuned.